Hey guys, Bobby here from Wedding Film School, and I wanted to try something a little bit different with this video. In my past few wedding film breakdowns, I've shown you clip by clip the exact camera and audio gear used to capture every frame of a film. But in this one, and perhaps moving forward, I want to add to that and take it one step further and talk through some unique challenges in the day, some different setups we did, and other things along those lines. I'm going to link the finished film in the description if you want to check it out without commentary. Otherwise, let's jump into it. So first off, I want to jump in and just say that this film is one of those films that, you know, in the end, it was good. I loved the film. The couple loved the film, but there were a lot of things throughout the day that just made things tough to capture in the way that we would want, or just some unideal settings. And some of that was timeline stuff, location stuff. I'm actually going to backtrack here just a little bit. This is the hotel that it was at, and this is a pretty good glimpse right here. This thing is right smack dab in the middle of downtown Sacramento in a certain area where like everything is. I don't know the name of the area. This right here is, I don't know the name, but this is where the basketball team plays. It is only downtown. Like there is nowhere to go for bride and groom time, wedding party, anything like that. And to add to that, in this area right here, this whole circle around the building, there was an event happening for most of the day, honestly, all outdoors, packed with people. This was this was towards the end of last year. So this is before COVID and stuff like that. But really making it stressful for us on places to shoot. And I'm going to get into that in just a little bit, but let's keep going here.
Today, we celebrate the decision of Josh and Madison to join together in marriage. This is the moment that the two of you have been planning for months.
So you can see here, we're just kind of more in like city and just kind of wherever we could find. Now this was beautiful. And the setup was gorgeous.
I met Madison in high school when she chose me to be her friend. I had no idea.
So we had all the time in the world for details and stuff, so that was fun. We got to take them kind of, wherever we wanted. Prep, however, was a good instance of just things not really working exactly how we wanted. The timeline was kind of rushed, things were behind, and sometimes that happens on a wedding. Like this is no fault of the couple or anything like that. And they wanted to have a relaxing morning too, which is great. I think they should enjoy that. So we actually just, went in, something that we've gotten more and more comfortable doing, and something I highly recommend is, we just went in and asked, hey, can we do some touch-up shots? And we found, you saw how many people were in that shot before. The hotel room was not huge, so we just went into the little bedroom area. There was some window light, and you're a little more limited to tight shots and stuff like that. We cleaned up as much as we could. You don't really see anything in this shot, in this framing. And that's what we went with. And sometimes we have great, hair and makeup where we have tons of time to shoot it, and sometimes we don't, and that's okay. But this is one of those scenarios where we just kind of pushed for what we needed and only took a couple minutes and we got some solid shots. Because ultimately you only need, this is a one song edit. I only need a few shots of hair and makeup to fit in there and make it work.
We've always kind of considered ourselves like long distance.
And I'm also going to go into the audio. So the audio side of this was tough. I had Tascam DR10Ls on people for the ceremony, and that's what was used for the audio. The DJ system at the reception, is one of those scenarios where I tested it. It sounded fine. I didn't do a backup, or I didn't do a backup that wasn't reliant on the DJ system. I actually had my DR40 plugged into his soundboard, and I had my DR10X little XLR pack, kind of like the DR10L, out of a speaker. And during my tests, I had no issues with sound or interference or anything like that. And you notice that the Toast audio is not super clean. This is incredibly cleaned up. Not my forte by any means, but this is with some definite work done to it, and it's still not perfect for me. It totally works and it's fine in the film, but it's not clean enough for what I would like. And not throwing the DJ under the bus or anything like that. Typically I would take from his mic receiver, but I wasn't able to in this scenario. And then, this is a great example of why I should, in every scenario, throw a lav mic on people or have a backup that isn't reliant on the DJ, but I didn't do that here.
Sisters, especially because we both grew up with brothers. You are really the sister that I never had.
So let's talk about my lighting setup right here. This is the Touchups. I had 2 lights with me. This was a, destined the travel wedding for us, so we didn't pack our big lights. Back here, I had kind of up in this corner, actually just to the right of these, this curtain here, I had my Comer 1800. It has a little flip down thing to make it more of a spotlight. I like that. It hits them in the back. I didn't really anticipate them, standing profile in this shot. But it still kind of helps separate them a little bit. And then over kind of here, 45 degrees on their front. So kind of just sandwiching them here. I had a torch LED, probably about full brightness. I don't remember off the top of my head, but probably full brightness and, probably 8 to 12 feet away from them, something like that. So kind of as close as I could get it without being incredibly in the way, but the light stand was definitely on the dance floor. And I think for Toast, that's okay in this scenario. I also tried to veto this little podium, but people wanted it. So sometimes you just got to roll with it.
Stunning tonight.
Say you'll stay with me forever. Say you'll be my only love. We can make it through whatever. Say you'll be my only love.
In the 21 years I've known him, I've never seen him as happy as he's been since he's met Madison. Madison makes Josh an even better guy. He's not like a friend, he's like the brother you never had. And I truly believe that, and I appreciate that.
So before I show this, I want to talk through my setup for the first look. And I'm going to actually pull up, I sketched out a little chart. Sorry that my drawing is not good, but hopefully this shows it. You can see here, so they are on the upper level. This is overlooking the lobby. Again, I mentioned there was this event outside, so it was incredibly loud, people everywhere. There was literally nowhere for us to go outside at this time, so we had to do it inside. Now, there was also almost no window lighting. I mean, sure, in the hotel rooms, but they weren't cleaned up enough. And they were pretty small, and you can see actually there were some people that wanted to watch, so they're over there. This was pretty much the only space that had window lighting outside of right below it, which wouldn't work because it was kind of blocked off, and then right over here, which is the front entrance, and there's just too much risk with that. So this is what we had to work with. You can see here they're up on the balcony. There's a staircase over here on the left. The bride came from the staircase. She didn't actually come up the stairs. There's elevators over there towards the groom. And we had 4 cameras rolling for this. In this sequence, you are only going to see 3 cameras. We had 1 camera that was down here on the lower level. You can't see it. Looking up, trying to get like a cool silhouette, super wide shot. It didn't really work out. So that one was kind of a wash. But then we had our 50 millimeter over here, shooting straight down on the groom. Groom was frame right, bride was frame left, because that is not breaking the 180 line, because that's how they were set up elsewhere. We had this camera that you see right here. This was the gimbal, and this all happened very fast. This was not really a, hey, let's wait, make sure we're set up. It just kind of rolled into it. Sometimes that happens. So you'll notice a little bit of movement in this gimbal cam that I would traditionally not like to have in there. So this was kind of the side shot, if you will. And then I also had back over here that you'll see a 70-200. Actually, it was kind of a ways back, getting the groom's reaction. And that was actually on a Canon. The rest were on Sony's. So this was a pretty tight space. It's tough when you get in scenarios like this because we want to roll 3 cameras. Ideally, we like these 3 angles or something along these lines. We definitely want the bride walking up and the groom, we want to see his reaction beforehand. And then we want a camera over here to see his reaction when he turns around, if this is the way they're going to do it. And, when you are on this narrow balcony, this corridor, or, it doesn't have to be a balcony, it can just be a tight hallway or something. You got to find a way to get those angles without being in, without a camera being in the shot of another camera, without breaking the 180 degree line, and also, working with the photographer. Now, we were at an advantage. We did photo and video for this wedding. So you'll see Micah running around. We'll talk about that for the ceremony setup. But she needs to get shots as well, and then also needs to stay out of my shots. So a lot of things at play here. Ultimately, it ended up great. We got a good reaction. I think the lighting is nice. Given the circumstances, this was something that I was very nervous about, and we were able to pull it off.
We got the whole world at our feet.
Hi, babe.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. You look so handsome.
You look great.
Do you like my dress?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Love it.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Under this sky, I'm so alive when you're with me.
Josh.
So let's talk about another tough scenario, and that was the ceremony. Now, this is a beautiful location up on the roof, beautifully decorated. I mean, one of those scenarios that's just, it's really great as a guest to the eye, but it's difficult to shoot. The lighting actually worked. I was a little bit worried about that, but it was pretty even. But one thing that you notice, and you're going to see a couple different angles. Let's play through it here. You're going to see this angle. You're going to see this angle. This was a floating gimbal camera. And you're going to see one more angle right there. Let's pull up another diagram that I sketch out for you guys. So one of the real difficulties, and I'm going to go back to this wider shot just to show you, actually, if I want to pull that up. So one of the big difficulties here was, you can see in the diagram, roughly sketched, of course, the way the chairs were set up, there was this front wall, and that's the kind of ledge, and then there's this back wall, which goes into the reception area. And those chairs were basically backed up one chair width away from the wall. So people were having to walk essentially single file down and around here. And that left very little room for any cameras. It left very little room for any movement to get around to cameras to adjust things quickly. So there's a lot of stress with this. So typically I would have a camera up front. It would be up around here, shooting down the aisle, but there's also limited space here. And I chose to set up this safety wide shot from this kind of front angle so you could still see some faces of people coming down, but I knew that this was going to be something I could fall back on if other cameras got blocked, if other cameras were out of focus because I couldn't check them so easily, stuff like that. So what we ended up doing, and you'll see in the diagram, is we did put a camera still back of the aisle. It was like as narrow as it could be on the tripod, shooting a 50 millimeter just for kind of that two shot of the bride and groom. And then the 30 millimeter, which is this wide shot over here. And then over on this side that you already saw an angle of is the 70-200. And this is not typical of our setup. Typically we'd be on the two front corners with long lenses getting over the shoulders and then one long lens in the back. But this is what we could do to guarantee as much footage as we could and move around as little as possible because we knew it would be difficult. I also had a gimbal that floated around. You'll see a couple shots of that as well. And then it wasn't, I think it was maybe back in the back of the aisle on the floor on the gimbal, just getting a super wide shot, but I don't know if I used any of that.
Josh, I knew you had to be a pretty special guy to win the attention and the heart of Madison. When she first started telling me about you, she could not stop talking about how great you are and how many amazing character traits you have. And as I've had a chance to get to know you, I've seen some of those traits come through.
We can make it through whatever. Say you'll be my only love.
Josh, I'm so grateful that you are the man that my sister is marrying. You are hardworking, generous, kind, and always thinking about others before yourself. Most of all, I love the way that you love Madison.
So this bride and groom stuff again was during a time that we couldn't really get outside as much. This was kind of when things were dwindling and we did get outside for a little bit. This was in the lobby. The shot before on the colorful wall was kind of the first thing we did outside, if I remember correctly. And then we were able to move kind of into a more open area, which you saw a few shots of, but again, kind of limited on where we could shoot. But with that said, you can make the best of any scenarios, of course, and we got some awesome stuff, and ultimately it's about the couple, and we were able to get some good stuff there. This, as far as the reception, the color scheme was really cool. It was like this golden, yellow, and whites and stuff like that. It did make it kind of tough lighting-wise. You can see here we've got some incredible mixed lighting. You have some candles on the tables. You have tungsten lights up on the ceiling, and then you have daylight just blasting in through that wall of windows. It didn't last too long because the sun did set pretty soon after this, but definitely a unique scenario. We threw it into Kelvin white balance on everything. And it's one of those things, you get it as close as you can in camera, and then you work on it a little bit in post, and it all kind of works out.
Today marks a new beginning to our precious daughter's life and being joined together in marriage with Josh. He is a man of strength.
This is kind of when we got outside a little bit.
I'm very proud to have him in our family as Madison's husband, another son to Gail and me, and as a friend to all of us.
Say you'll be my only love. Say you'll be.
Josh, you're so loyal and fun and hardworking, and I couldn't ask for a better match for my best friend. Madison, I treasure our friendship more than I could ever put words to. So with that, let's raise a glass to Madison and Josh. You're gonna have a great life, and I love you both.
Say you'll be my only love.
So there it is, guys. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments. And as always, I'd love to have you like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.